I'm the club president, and I'm a Paul Harris Fellow, so welcome here today. I do want to remind you, if you have any of your devices with you, and who doesn't, right? But make sure, please, that it is either turned off or silent. I'd like to bring to the front of the room now Ashley Brower. Ashley is the founder and CEO of Haas Communications. She is also the chair of the Speakers Committee, co-chair of the Leadership Fellows Committee, and co-chair.
Thank you, President Lori. As we gather today for our first meeting of this new year, let us take a moment to reflect and offer gratitude. We are grateful for the promise of new beginnings that each year brings. May 2025 be a year of growth, understanding, and unity for all. May the snow and bitter cold remind us of the beauty and challenges of winter. May it also remind us of the warmth we can share with one another through kindness and compassion. We hold in our hearts those facing the devastating fires in California. May they find strength in the face of loss, and may communities everywhere come together to build solidarity. Today we are inspired by the vision of the DOT experience, a project that celebrates inclusivity and accessibility. May its example remind us of the power of empathy and action to create a world where every individual is valued and welcome. Let us leave this gathering with renewed purpose, to serve our community and one another, embracing the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. In gratitude, we ask for guidance, resilience, and peace.
Thank you, Ashley, for that lovely and good time with us. I would like to now ask to come to the front of the room George Breakmeyer. George is the president of Central Electronic Office Machines Company. He's also a Paul Harris Fellow, and he's going to lead us.
Before we pledge, I just want to thank all the bell ringers out there this year. We did $7,000, so Salvation Army sure thanks us. So we can do the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The truth is fair to all concerned, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.
Thanks for all you do on behalf of the bell ringing crew for our community here in Louisville. Now is the time where we ask Rotarians to please introduce any guests that we have with us today. You will come to this microphone over here to my right and your left. Rotarians, please first state your name, and then the name of your guest, any affiliation that they might have. Guests, when you hear your name, if you would please stand up so the rest of the room can see you, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, Craig.
President Lori, Craig Mooney with Bussey Construction, Rotary Board Treasurer. Today my guest is Dan Lawson, my colleague from Bussey Construction. He is Vice President and he is managing the renovation at American Printing House and working with Joe in the DOT experience.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, President Lori. Mike Norman with your Kentucky Science Center. Today is my guest, Dave Bell, the Director of Development with River Heritage Conservancy, doing a really cool project over in Southern Indiana. So if you don't know about it, talk to him. It's a great project. Also great to see Joe and Phoebe and all the American Printing House crew here.
All right, thank you, Mike. Welcome. And also, we were at your place yesterday for Venture Connectors. Excellent presentation by the Secretary of Economic Development.
My name is Mackenzie White. I'm with PNC Commercial Banking. I'm going to fill in for Kristen since she was stepping in a little bit behind. For our guest today, we have Kevin Blair, who is with our Institutional Asset Management Group, Kristen Dunleavy, who's one of our investment senior advisors, and John Sims, who is also one of our commercial bankers.
Excellent. Thank you so much for bringing all those guests. And welcome. Guests, when you hear me ring the bell again, that's going to mean that our meeting is adjourned. It will be around 1 o'clock. If you could please go over to this table over here in the very far corner. You can recognize it because there's a placard standing up on the table with this Rotary. You'll just spend about 5 minutes talking to one of our senior Rotarians to give you an overview about what our civic club is and what it means to our community. And as I always do, a shout out to the fact that we're the 13th largest club in the entire world. So please consider doing that if you can, and then hear the bell ring. We have 2 Rotarians in the spotlight this week. We want to congratulate Kenya Wade on being selected for the Emerge Kentucky class of 2025. Let's give an applause to Kenya. And congratulations also goes to Brett Corbin on being recognized as one of the 20 people to know in wealth management, which hopefully everyone in this room needs, by the Louisville Business First magazine. So congratulations also to Brett. As you all know, every year the mayor does a state and city address with Rotary, in conjunction with Rotary. This year, the mayor's state and city address to Rotary will be on January 30th. It's going to be at the Kentucky Center for Performing Arts. Lunch will begin at 11, so that's a little bit unusual, so please take note of it. The actual lunch begins at 11. It's going to be in the lobby, and then you're going to want to eat so that you can transfer to the Baumhart Theater at 11:45 for the presentation of our Rotary meeting and to listen to the mayor. Our Music and Arts Committee really is stepped up this year, pretty excited about it. They've planned a spectacular kickoff that we are calling, of course, with a year of magic for Rotary, we're calling it a magical overture of the arts here in the Louisville community. There's going to be a performance by the Kentucky Opera, by the Louisville Ballet, and Teddy Abrams with the Louisville Orchestra, so you definitely do not want to miss it. Check your Sparks for the registration link. Of course, you can always scan the QR code up on the screen. And we have been, it's the mayor's office, so we are running it in conjunction with them. And they really have a hard deadline of January 16th, which is next Thursday. So please register and sign your guest up as soon as you can. All attendees must be registered in advance by then in order to be admitted. I want to remind everybody of the deadline for submissions of your November and December membership incentive campaign. Those are going to be due by January 10th, which is tomorrow, and you'll see if you need you can do it online, but if you would prefer to do it by hard copy, copies of those are at your table. As you know, and we're going through this incentive program, for every point, for every meeting you come to, for every Rotary activity that you report into us, you're going to have a chance to win the grand prize, which would be a Rotary-sponsored trip to Rotary International, which the convention is going to be in June in Calgary. So you definitely want to get those in to increase your chances. All are invited to a special celebration of life memorial reception for Barry Parker. That's going to be on Saturday, January 25th from 3:30 to 6 p.m. at Whitehall Mansion. And of course, Barry was such an important part of our community. And personally for me, I have known him since I was in my late 20s, I would say. He's just always been a fixture in the community and mentored so many people. Obviously, he was a president, one of the best darn presidents ever for Rotary, a number of years ago. And in some ways, it's his fault that I'm in the position that I'm in now because he asked me to be the chair of the governance committee. And I was too new to Rotary to know how to say no. Where's John Bush on that? He should know, and he said yes to me to be the chair of the governance committee. But I did that, and it really opened my eyes to the leadership of Rotary and how important it is that is one of the best ways to give back to our organization, and then it just went from there. So he holds a special place in my heart, and he might, I'm assuming, for many, many, many of you all in this room and in our community. So if you're able to go to his celebration of life, I would encourage you to show your respects to Barry that way. Now I would like to invite to the podium Kristen Boone, Market Managing Director for both Kentucky and Tennessee at PNC Institutional Asset Management Group, Club Director, thank you for your service on that as well, Vice Chair of the Public Image Committee, to introduce today's speaker.
Well, we're in for a treat today because we actually have 2 guests that are going to give us a bit of their time today. So 2 women that are amazing leaders in our community. I'm excited to have them here today. Phoebe Wood is the chair of the American Printing House Board of Trustees. She's going to open the presentation, so I will tell you just a little bit about Phoebe. If you don't know, Phoebe has served as the director on publicly traded company boards since 2003, as well as several private company boards. Those include positions from chair to chair of compensation and audit nominating. She's really an expert in governance and corporate governance and beyond. She's involved with Invesco, Leggett Platt, EPL Corporations, a few. Phoebe came to our community as vice chair and CFO at Brown-Forman Corporation in 2001. But after retiring from Brown-Forman, she created Company Foot. And this firm advises and invests in startup companies. She's been an active investor and advisor since that time. She's made over 40 investments in companies. She's also a member of the Committee of 200, International Women's Forum, National Association of Corporate Directors, Women Corporate Directors, and Extraordinary Women on Boards. So Phoebe will open with remarks, but before I invite Phoebe up, I want to introduce Joe Haas and tell you a little bit about Joe. I could tell you what I know about Joe, but maybe I should read it. Joe Haas is an executive with the American Printing House, leading an effort to design and open the world's most accessible museum, the Dot Experience. The Dot Experience will focus on blindness and the human experience. She moved here to join Kentucky Science Center as CEO in 2008 and served in that capacity brilliantly for 14 years. She led the development of a vibrant Do Science brand. Joe has held executive positions with the Carnegie Science Center in Pittsburgh, Ford Motor Company Spirit Accord, and the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. She began her career with COSAC, where she served for nearly a decade. She's been a member of many boards, including the Global Association of Science Technology Centers, the Association of Children's Museums, and numerous Girl Scout boards in the communities where she has lived. She presently serves as the chair of the board at the John C. Campbell Folk School in Grafton, North Carolina. She is the mother to Winston, a college freshman studying English. So we are thrilled to have both of you, but I want to invite Phoebe to the podium to share a few remarks.
Well, thank you, Kristen, and thank you, Rotarians, for inviting us today. I'm Phoebe Wood, and as you heard from Kristen, I am the chair of the Board of Trustees at the American Printing House for the Blind. It's a 167-year-old nonprofit organization based in Louisville, Kentucky, but it serves the entire world. Some of you may know us well, but some of you probably don't know us at all. But after today, that's going to change as you hear what's in your way. Funding for the American Printing House for the Blind began with an act of Congress in 1879, and it receives funding every year to provide educational materials for blind and low vision students K through 12. The government decides how much money will be allocated in any one year. And then we at APH calculate how much money that is per blind and visually impaired student in the United States. By way of perspective, $44 million was granted in 2024 by the Department of Education, and with about 75,000 blind and low vision students, they can buy about $585 worth of our products, which we must sell to them at cost. Teacher coordinators in each state then decide what students need and what they can be able to purchase with their per capita funding. So we actually receive very immediate feedback on what are the desired products on an annual basis. But the money comes in from the Department of Education and it goes out in products that we manufacture. We have a full-blown manufacturing center on Lower Frankfurt, which is on the tour, which is part of the Dot Experience. We're modeling how to make production flow accessible to disabled or differently able. The funding from the government cannot be used for buildings or research, which is relevant for our discussion today. It can be used for administration. It doesn't cover all the costs of R&D. But that actually doesn't example. We record books for the Library of Congress, where, by the way, everything is pronounced correctly, even foreign words. We used to call this books or reading books for the blind, and it's now become what we today know as Audible. Think of it as the innovation that began with a small market segment in Louisville, Kentucky, and then grew into a ubiquitous market. The arrival of the iPhone, iPad, and flat screen technology has required a complete rethink of one of our major products, Braille raised dots on paper. So in a joint venture with a subsidiary of Essilor-Luxottica, this is the French company that makes Ray-Ban glasses and with a Korean company, the American Printing House has developed the Monarch, a product that allows 10 lines of Braille that emerges raised dots being fed from a digital file and then a flat screen which displays 2D image that you can touch. You're going to see pictures. A student can now feel on the screen the rivers of Kentucky, the graph of a parabola, the outline of a horse. The technology has the ability to eliminate paper Braille. It's so innovative that the Department of Education authorized a $10 million pilot to put it in the hands of high school graduates, normally beyond the reach of this K-12 funding. Think of this as an innovation that began with a small market segment in Louisville, Kentucky, and now can be brought to blind and low vision people around the world. APH also spun off another one of its innovations, wayfinding within buildings. By the way, GPS works outside, but once you have a wall, GPS can't come inside. You may have heard of Good Maps, a for-profit company headed by Teresa Reno-Weber, providing step-by-step instructions for you to make your way through an airport, including Louisville Airport, or a railway station, or a corporate campus, or a conference. We have a patent on the technology. We were featured at the Olympics. You may have seen this thought on NBC News, where they talked about it. Think of this as an innovation that begins with a small market in Louisville, Kentucky, that can be brought to the world. And when we learned that we would be the recipient of the Helen Keller Archives, and her desk and her chair, the board made a conscious decision, again, to be innovative and to create the most accessible museum in the world. Lofty goals. But under the guidance of Joe Haas, from whom you'll hear next, and under the construction, thank you, this is becoming a reality. Guests of all abilities will be able to touch items in the museum, well, replicas of things in the museum. And yes, we will have the artifacts of Helen Keller, Stevie Wonder's piano, Jose Feliciano's guitar, but we'll also have the stories of current blind and low vision people, and how they use our products, and how GE Appliances works with our products for everyday living. We expect it to be one of the new places that locals and visitors to Louisville will want to experience. That museum will be renamed the DOT Experience, and here to tell us all about it is the leader of that effort, who you may recall from her decade running the Kentucky Science Center, Jo Haas. Let's welcome her.
All right, I'm going to try this microphone, and those of you in the back of the room, if you cannot hear me, yell, and I'll stop and put this other one on. But let's give this a try. Is it all good? All right. I also have a presentation voice, so we'll we'll see how that works. Good afternoon. It's so great to be with you all, and wonderful to see so many familiar faces in the room as well. As Phoebe said, American Printing House has been around for quite some time, about 179, 78 years. And we've been championing an open-minded, inclusive world, literally one innovation at a time. Before the Act of Congress that Phoebe mentioned, we were founded in the basement of the School for the Blind in 1858. So I think that's probably why a lot of people confuse us with the School for the Blind. But it's been a while now, so people should really know that we're two separate organizations, right? 1858, we moved out from the basement and into our headquarters building next door. So when you drive down Lower Frankfurt, the first building you see and you think, oh, that's American Printing House. That's the School for the Blind. And then you go to the place where you see all the construction happening, and that is American Printing House. APH sees the possibility of a world that welcomes everyone and works to literally level the playing field for those who are blind and low vision. And we believe that access to the right tools at the right time can change lives. While our core business is the K-12 educational market, we're also focused on issues around employment, independence, advocacy, technology, innovation, and more. APH services and programs through efforts like the APH Connect Center, which reaches families, job seekers, and older adults who are beginning to lose their sight, and the Educational Hive, which has curriculum resources, family resources. Those efforts reach over 1 million annual users. The company employs 341 individuals. 22% of those identify as disabled. So, we are a major manufacturing entity, a highly complex organization. We occupy an enormous campus. We have a significantly sized workforce, and we are doing not everything that we could do, but a lot to incorporate our disabled colleagues. Of course, we print things. That's in our name, American Printing House. We print Braille. We do Braille embossing, large print text, touch graphics, and the like. But we also produce tactile educational materials to support literally every level of curriculum, from shapes and colors for young students, to the life cycle of the frog, or the inner workings of the body, to astronomy, history, chemistry, and literally everything in between. We turn 2D materials in the classroom into 3-dimensional tactile materials that can support learning for individuals who are blind and low vision. We are an internationally networked nonprofit. Our collaborators are everywhere from India, Canada, Australia, South Korea, the UK, and more. These global alliances and business partnerships help us create innovative assistive technologies and tools and advance the field-wide necessities of our audience. Like a recent win with the revolutionary new electronic Braille file standard. Yes, there need to be file standards for Braille. And EBRF, or Electronic Braille, is a file standard now used worldwide. APH led this effort, which involved players from 17 different countries. So we are a globally and nationally well-known organization that is working to get on your radar screen right here in our local community. Our products are in households and offices too, through our daily work with living products like talking kitchen tools, refreshable Braille devices, and Braille and large print banking in collaboration with our partners at PNC. There are 7 million Americans who experience vision loss. The CDC says that roughly 89 million individuals are living with a disability, but 7 million of those folks have some sort of vision loss. and nearly 650,000 of those with vision loss are under the age of 17. APH, through the federal quota program that Phoebe mentioned, serves about 75,000 of these individuals in classrooms all across the country. But it's not just these statistics that drive us, because we know that inequities and bias get in the way of these individuals embracing their full potential. Disabled individuals encounter physical, social, attitudinal, policy, and communication-related barriers in their everyday communities, schools, and places of work. And our mission is to change that. Innovation is at our core. Emerging technology and innovation plays a huge role these days in all of our lives, but especially in the world of disability inclusion. Barriers are being broken down through technology innovations in significant ways every day. Think about it. AI, robotics, augmented reality, wearable tech, smart home technologies, telework, telehealth, and I could go on. APH has been at the forefront of driving innovation since the first mass-produced Braille and those early days of talking books. We've been pushing boundaries since the beginning. Legend has it that the producers for Elvis's first record traveled from Nashville to Louisville to learn what they could from our talking book press and production processes, and then translated that into his first and final record. This past year, APH and GE Appliances won a National Kitchen and Bath Award show award for a collaborative effort to design an accessible sticker kit that goes on appliances. This was not an accessibility award. This was a National Kitchen and Bath Show award, a mainstream award to an accessible, collaboratively designed product by two major organizations who are headquartered right here in Louisville. Fast Company also named APH to their most innovative companies list. And another game-changing innovation is the Monarch, the tool or piece of technology that Phoebe earlier mentioned. APH is leading the charge on this refreshable Braille device that will, for the first time ever, hear that again, the first time ever, this device puts refreshable Braille, tactile graphics, and formatted text on a single multi-line device that's about the size of a gaming laptop. It's already in the market and already being sought after and utilized in many settings, including K-12 classrooms, colleges, research labs, offices, and more. Here you have an image of students on the left side of the screen who are in their classroom with their laptops. And on the right side of the screen, you have a student who is low vision using a monitor on the right side of this screen. Imagine that you're a child and suddenly able to sit side by side with your peers who are working on their laptops, instead of having to trundle to the Braille book closet to figure out which of the 47 volumes of the Braille book your class might be working from. Or being able to participate right along with your friends or colleagues in a global scientific phenomenon, like the recent solar eclipse. Or be able to follow in real time the paths of hurricanes that are heading towards your homes. These are ways that the Monarch in the last year have been used by real people in their real communities in a real-time kind of way. Ooh, get ahead of me. The single device will, perhaps like an automobile, change the landscape of learning and working for individuals who are blind and low vision forever. Behind the automobile came road systems, traffic cops, service stations, roadside dining, hotel motel culture, and more. APH is changing the world, just like Henry Ford did. We're out in front in a big way on many fronts. But it's important to remember that APH has been doing accessibility since before accessibility was cool. And we never really rest or settle. We just keep stretching ourselves in the hopes of stretching others. So just as the Monarch has launched into the sales pipeline, we're at it again, setting the standard. A recently published article in a Far magazine, it's a travel magazine, put it this way: we are on a quest to create the most accessible museum in the world. You can actually find a copy of this article in the folder on your tables. And it caught the eye yesterday of the Louisville Tourism Group, who reached out to me to say, tell me more about this project you're working on. It's always great when Louisville gets into national news media. The author of that article was actually an individual who is blind and low vision herself and has personal experiences visiting museums all around the world, and talks about the groundbreaking work that this project, the Dot Experience at APH, means for her and the community of individuals like her around the world. I'm going to give you a little taste of what is called visual description on this slide. On the screen is the Dot Experience logo. The name, The Dot Experience, is in black, bold letters and stacked with the words, The Dot, above the word experience. The two lines of type are equal in length. The and experience are the same size, while the word dot is larger and more prominent. If you'd like to play along, you can close your eyes while I finish this description. To the right of the name sit 6 individually colored circles, 2 rows of 3 dots, one on top of the other, representing a braille cell. A thin black line runs horizontally underneath both the words and the dots. Below this line is a black circle in which the letters A, P, and H are white and appear like a monogram, with the letters conforming to the circle shape. To the right of this circle mark are the words American Printing House. The Dot Experience name pays homage to APH's history and commitment to Braille and a series of 6 dots that in combination form letters, numbers, music, and words, and serve as the code of communication and lifelong literacy for individuals who are blind and low vision. As a new global local attraction located in Louisville, the Dot Experience aims to change perspectives about blindness, spur insight and action that welcomes everyone, and lead as a model museum of inclusivity. The attraction is part museum, part Center for Education, and part factory tour, and will be open to all, including students, school children, families, tourists, scholars, and business leaders. The Dot Experience, as an extension of the long-term work of APH to break barriers, will elevate the lived experience of blind and low vision individuals, showing them as fully rounded people who succeed and struggle, and who are capable, creative, critical thinkers, ready to work if only our systems would allow them. All right, if your eyes are closed, you can come back with me here. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. It's actually a pretty cool one. It shows on the left, on the right of the screen, no, on the left of the screen, the original headquarters building and a construction rendering from our partners at K. Norman Barry, which will be the new front door for APH when we open. The Dot Experience is just a part of a significant construction effort underway on our Frankfurt Avenue facing campus. We have a number of incredible local firms. Some are here today. They include Solid Light, K. Norman Barry Associates, PLC Management, Bossy Construction, Swope Design, Sabec, Wilson Lingo, Carrick Gulurik, Engineers, Doe Anderson, Field Trip, and so many more of our subs, suppliers, sponsors, partners, and that list keeps growing. 15 distinct building additions of varying sizes have been added since the original building was occupied in 1883, and this addition is number 16. Our facility, the Dot Experience, will open in 2026 and will be about 28,000 square feet, or roughly 5 times the size, Gil, of the museum that you and your kids visited a few years ago. So the previous APH museum was a small collection of objects, and this experience will be completely different. It will be a front door attraction for APH, a model of inclusivity, and home of the AFB Helen Keller Archive. Construction is well underway, and new construction is now out of the ground. We're working on framing in, and and as you drive by Frankfurt, you can see changes in progress literally daily. The DOT experience is first and foremost about people. Over 20 individuals have been cast to represent a wide spectrum of lived experiences related to disability, age, gender, occupation, how people came to their blindness, and more. The cast members will tell their first-person stories, and those stories then inform the way that the content and the visitor experience is being designed and developed. These will join the stories of a couple of historic figures like Helen Keller and Louis Braille, and we'll also have everyday individuals from our community and also APH customers from around the country and our staff. These are some of the things that are most profound from my vantage point as a career professional in the museum world, who considered myself very savvy when it came to an inclusive mindset and approaching experience design and leadership in my CEO role. But my perspective on these things has deepened and honed in some new ways through the lens of disability inclusion. We consider these 4 things on the screen to really be foundational viewpoints, and I really invite you to take a look at these, think about them in the context of your own worlds. We're working at every step to avoid what I've come to know as othering. You know, that other door that the people in the wheelchair can come in, that isn't the front door of the organization, but is a door that works and a door that gets you to where you need to be, but it's still the other door, around the corner, or down the sidewalk, or it brings you in the bottom level and then you come up the elevator to get to the main ticketing place. That's othering. You're still creating a way for people to get in your institution, but you're othering in the process. The idea of access, we're embracing the concept of access for all versus just those accessibility add-ons, which are important. And in some instances, you confront a situation where that's all you could do. You could create an add-on that provides access. And believe me, that's better than nothing. But the idea of starting, and in the AFAR article, you'll see born accessible. You know, thinking from the very beginning about what it means to provide access right from the very beginning. Also, a lot of people, you know, you may encounter somebody who's blind and you say, oh, I wish that could get better for you. Or somebody who's in a wheelchair, oh, I wish you didn't have to be in that wheelchair. I wish there was something we could do to make that better or different. That's the medical mindset. Let's fix this. Versus the social mindset that says, let's design a world that just works for everybody. Regardless of how you walk around or navigate the world, regardless of whether you see or not, let's look at this from a social model perspective and make the world a better place for everybody. And then this issue of equity and equality, this is a dicey one and challenging, but striving for equity, which means giving people what they need to succeed. It doesn't mean one solution fits all. We'd like to find a solution that works for as many people as possible, but at some point or another, you might need to offer multiple solutions so that people who have different kinds of needs have different kinds of solutions. And maybe most importantly, representation. Actually, the list goes on and on. Intersectionality, interdependence, the right technologies and tools, reducing stigma and bias. I mean, there's a big long list, but I'm going to move quickly to representation because we have people who represent the disabled community literally at every level of this project. They are decision makers, staff, board, volunteers, consultants, partners, project advisors, focus groups, and they're with us literally every step of the way. The most maybe impactful and certainly the most involved on the ground is a group of local prototypers. So we have about 15 or 20 individuals. They have a wide range of disabilities and again, a real mix of intersectionality. And they are paid for their services. They gather about every 6 or 8 weeks at Solid Light mostly, but they're also talking with our marketing firm and others who are involved in the project, and they are literally advising, testing, providing feedback on countless small and large decisions that we are making about this project. We developed an unprecedented and comprehensive set of inclusive design standards that consider lots of disabilities: blindness, deafness, mobility challenges, neurodiversity, strength, flexibility, and cognitive differences. So this is not just about blindness. This is about being the most inclusive museum in the world, right? And that needs and means that it has to take lots of different disability in mind, and it ups the ante on the challenge and perhaps the profound nature of the result in the end. In fact, before visiting and then again at entry, all visitors will be introduced to the many techniques and tools that we'll have available to everyone at a unique and centrally located orientation station. We didn't want to other the people who might need tactile maps, or other people that might need to download a special app for audio assist, or other the people who needed to know where the quiet spaces are. So every visitor gets sent to this orientation station, and there are a mix of supports that are available. Maybe you're just having one of those days where you need the world to be a little more subdued. Or maybe you have a kid with you who'd like to touch things. How many of you have tried to take a kid to an art museum? Well, you know, this is a bit of that. So touching isn't just for those who are blind and low vision. Touch is valuable for all of us. It's one of our primary senses. So this orientation station really allows us to go deeper on that. Our prototypers here are looking at a mock-up at solid light of that prototyping or that orientation station. And through this prototyping process, one dog guide user that was part of our prototyping team revealed that our plan, the flooring strips that we had planned to be part of our tactile wayfinding system, we placed it on the floor just near a braille panel that we wanted to draw people's attention to. So if you're a guide dog user, your guide dog tells you where to go and not go, basically, and moves you, navigates you around a space. In this particular instance, the floor lozenge was placed too close to the reader panel, and the dog navigated the person completely away from it because it interpreted it as an obstacle. That was completely the opposite thing that we wanted to have happen. So we moved the floor lozenge about 2 inches further away from the reader rail, and now it was identified as something, as a point of interest. And so when our prototypers tested the Helen Keller silver scroll holder, which was a gift from India to when Helen Keller visited India, it was initially mounted flat. And this made it difficult to feel all the parts. You couldn't get your hand all the way around. At their suggestion, the design team remounted it on a set of pins, so now you can feel your hand all the way around the circumference of the scroll. Similarly, the engraved text in the scroll was too small to be discerned by the blind prototypers, and so we embossed those characters at a slightly larger type size instead. And so this iterative process really is just getting everyone involved in learning about how complex this process really is. The dot experience will include items of place. So we're taking advantage of the construction process, and we're pulling out some of the incredible textural elements from all the historic architecture, and we're bringing those into the lobby of the dot experience for visitors to touch. The dot experience will include product, like this oversized version of our Best in Kentucky runner-up product called Tactile Town, which teaches orientation and mobility. We lost to the Corvette. It was the first most greatest product designed in Kentucky. Tactile Town is the second. Over Jeff Peanut Butter, I might add. Processes. So this is a historic 30-inch globe. It will be mounted with its armature for the molding plates that were used to produce this globe back in the day. and positioned as a sculptural piece that people will be able to touch. Phoebe mentioned Jose Feliciano's guitar, Stevie Wonder's piano. There will be a number of primary source objects that will be either touchable or replicated or made accessible by touch in some way, shape, or form. Every object. Right now, when you go on a tour and you say, I'm blind, I'd like to do the touch tour, they might say to you, oh, that's available on Tuesday at 2. You'll have to come back for that. And then when you come back for that Tuesday at 2 tour, your tour to 3, 5, a handful of objects that a curator has picked to be replicated. And so you're at the whim of somebody else. You don't have the autonomy to decide what's of interest to you and to touch those things. You're touching things that somebody else thinks is interesting. So here we are making every object, everything, right at the start, touch everything, which my Science Center brain says, of course, touch everything. But typical museums are not like that. And even objects that are part of the Science Center. You can't hug the polar bear right now. But we'll work with Mike on how to get a polar bear coat so that you can put that on, right? And we also are telling stories of people. This is one of our cast members, Dina Lambert, is being interviewed at Solid Light last year for her cast interview. She works at NASA. She's also a single mom to an adorable preschooler. So, love that. The first gallery addresses humanity and lived experiences and goes through stories of work, life, navigation, advocacy, creative expression. The second gallery is where you meet Helen Keller. The American Foundation for the Blind Helen Keller Archive is under the care of APH and is a preeminent part of this experience. And one of the most unique things about how we're approaching this gallery is that we are not telling Helen Keller's story. Helen is telling her story. So her words will echo throughout that space. You'll meet Helen's parents, teacher, learn about her educational journey, her struggles, where she begins to find her voice, and then she, of course, develops into a national and global game changer. It'll feature the iconic water pump at Ivy Green and introduce visitors to posing the question, making Helen Keller, what makes Helen Keller relevant to you? Well, what are your water pump moments? Where are the moments in your life where everything changed? Somebody you met or encountered or listened to said something, did something that set your life in a different trajectory or opened a door for you in some way. What are your water pump moments? We'll be hoping to encourage that kind of thought process with our visitors. Helen, I like to think of myself maybe as a little bit like Helen when I was in my 20s and working at COSI. I once was known to stand on a table to make a point. Nobody was listening to me. I was very young then, and headstrong. I'm still headstrong, but maybe a little smarter today. But Helen, her coming of age process was when she was awakened to that world of injustice, and she wanted people to listen to her. And even as a woman, even as someone who was admonished for saying what she thought, she spoke out anyway, and she spoke out about the suffering of people. And she then developed as a human rights activist, not just a blind rights activist. Visitors, here's the desk. This is Helen Keller's real desk from her home office at Arcade Ridge, and a number of her personal effects from her office and her tours abroad as an ambassador for global goodwill will be available to explore. And innovation is a theme throughout this whole experience, but it is really on display in this final gallery called Innovation and Breakthroughs, where you'll be introduced to young inventor Louis Braille, the War of the Dots, the story of Braille education, the story of Braille production and the use of Braille in education, and also, the story of APH innovations, including many of our low vision devices, talking books, educational aids for the classroom, and then ultimately we land in this space that models sort of an inclusive living area where we will showcase ongoing partnerships with companies who are working to make their products more accessible. GE Appliances, Procter & Gamble, Tactile Packaging, NBC Universal, Microsoft Gaming are some of the stories that we are working to cultivate for this particular space. And those opportunities to showcase things that are in development. Alexa is kind of ubiquitous. We think of Alexa as a convenience. Someone who's blind and low vision thinks of Alexa as, survival, because think of it, it can do a lot of things with voice commands that someone who's blind or low vision can't do otherwise. So, to kind of wrap up, change comes in all shapes and sizes and is embraced, differently by all of us. APH has these 4 personas that we like to embody and share with the world, and invite you to engage in with us. Dream believers are the people who have big dreams and visions and aspirations. I imagine that there are a number of dream believers in this room. Dream believers are the ones that embrace big ideas. There's a big idea right there. Barrier breakers pave a new way. So those are the ones out there, shoveling the snow, breaking the barriers, working to create a more inclusive world in a very energetic and innovative kind of way. Change makers are those ones who have power. They have the power to make change happen. They're the ones identifying the problems, envisioning and implementing the solutions, challenging the status quo, speaking out. And then access warriors are the people in the trenches. They're the ones fighting every day for and ensuring that level playing field. So those access warriors are the ones who are committed to justice. I can tell you that APH is changing the world, and I can tell you that we're catching the eye of pretty much everyone these days. We've been doing lots of tours lately. This is an image of a tour from Tara McKenzie Williams, who leads the Office of Disability Employment Policy, and Congressman Morgan McGarvey. But these are just a sample of the countless people who have toured our place recently. Most of them say, I've never been here, or I was here with a school trip, however many years ago, or with my kids' Girl Scout group. I had no idea the place was this big, or this involved, or this important. And so, thank you to all of you for now joining us as advocates for change as we work for that world we imagine. We want to see people really truly see people, all people, for who they are and what they bring to the world. I always sort of end with this idea of, you can change the world. You don't have to be running this project like I am and change the world in this kind of way. You can go out of this room tomorrow, and in your offices or your homes or your churches or your kids' schools or your grandkids' schools, you can make change happen. Some of it is just little stuff. Microsoft is an amazingly inclusive tool. Learn about what Microsoft accessibility features you can use on all of your documents before you send them out. Watch a TV show, not with captions, but with audio descriptions. One of the greatest examples of that is All the Light You Cannot See, which is on Netflix. And one of our cast members was a producer on that show, and advises in TV and film, and helped cast the young blind person who was part of that show. But if you watch that, turn on the visual descriptions, close your eyes, listen to that TV show. Notice othering and biases in the media. It's all over the place, I can tell you that. And particularly disability-oriented othering and bias. And have conversations about it at your dinner table. Go into your LinkedIn profile and pick a few disability innovation or disability advocacy thinkers and, follow them and see what kind of stuff they're posting, just to learn about what is going on in that particular world. If you, work in an office building and you have colleagues who might be disabled, blind, low vision, have ambulatory issues, clear the pathways, make them predictable. Don't change up the furniture just because you like to change up the furniture every day. Make things consistent in your workplace. Use high contrast design. I have learned a lot about how to simplify design since working with APH. It's not what we maybe as sighted individuals think is powerful design, but it's effective and it helps people. And then, finally, come take a tour of APH. We welcome everyone, and I'd love to have you come see what we're up to and stay in touch on our project. We will open in 2026. I'm now available for a couple of questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joe and Katie. Very exciting. Very much looking forward to that. Rotarians, if you have any questions for our speakers today, please come to this microphone. As you know, we have a couple of Q&A rules that are on the screen. They should be very familiar to you. But we're open up the floor now for a few questions for both of our speakers.
Thank you so much, Joanna. It was very, very interesting and exciting to see what's going on there. I have visited the printing house numerous times over the years, and in fact, some years ago, the Rotary Club had a business synergy meeting there that included a tour of some of the manufacturing facilities. It was really very impressive, and any of our members who weren't around to make that meeting, I hope we'll think about a future. But at that time, and this was a decade or more ago, I was told by a staff member at the printing house that there was one significant limitation that the government put on the work that could not be dealt with. And as somebody who's very interested in international activities, I thought in fact that you could not produce any products except those in the English language. And I wonder if technology has changed some of that. Is that totally out of date? What's happening?
Well, to my knowledge, thank you for that question. To my knowledge, and I'll give you two examples. We do produce in Spanish, and we are capable of producing in some other languages based on the need. So there is no federal limitation on that front. We also have global partners, like the partnership that Phoebe mentioned with EssilorLuxottica on the product, the Monarch product, the refreshable braille device. Our agreement with EssilorLuxottica is that we are the sales engine in the United States. They are the sales engine overseas, and we have a shared revenue strategy around sales of that product in both arenas. So I think that you're operating maybe from a slightly outdated point of view.
Hi, Joe. Ann Monell, Legacy Foundation, and I remember from elementary school going on a field trip, and I tried so hard to learn Braille because that was our take-home was the primer, and we had the alphabet, and I tried hard, but it's been lost to history. But so curious about it. You mentioned that a little bit about the Monarch, but you've talked about so many innovative products and Audible. Are all of these patents and innovations also revenue streams for the printing house?
Well, we're working on that for sure. We are working on that. Organizationally, it takes such a significant amount of our effort to stay ahead of the design and innovation and refreshing curve, and then the manufacturing production, We handle everything soup to nuts from the K-12 product point of view. And so there's a lot of energy and effort that's put into just keeping core business working. But the world is also changing rapidly, I would say. And so, APH has really with the, maybe beginning with good maps, and as we are moving forward, we are recognizing that we have a relevant role to play, and perhaps even an important role to play as one of the largest organizations in the globe, around the globe, that's doing this kind of work. And so we are working at how to generate other revenue streams. In fact, the museum presents us a great platform for doing that. We believe that we're creating a model that will influence and inform the work of attractions, public spaces broadly, and certainly other museums down the road. And so, I think consulting in that arena may be ahead of us, and other kinds of initiatives. But we definitely need a diversified revenue stream is what every nonprofit wants to be talking about. So.
Okay, so I think last question.
Yes.
And the answer might be no, but I'm wondering, was there a really good story behind how we got the Helen Keller archives? Like, would we wrestle with another institution around it? Is there something there?
It's arm wrestling, right? So American Printing House is one of 3 major players in the kind of blindness field, quote unquote. One is the National Federation for the Blind, and I really consider them to be the ones charging forward on the advocacy front. So for corporations who may be falling down on their job to support advocacy or support blind and low vision consumers or employees, you're going to hear from the National Federation for the Blind. Another is the American Foundation for the Blind. They're a largely membership-based organization. There are, and they were the organization that Helen Keller worked for. And then there's APH. And by and large, APH is the largest of those organizations. And we were in a position, we already had a museum, and we were in a position to help AFB, American Foundation for the Blind, take that collection out of storage. It was hidden in a storage room. Not many of the objects were on display, and commit as an organization to make that the centerpiece of this new attraction that we are. And that's probably not the whole story, but it's a thumbnail version of it.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely fabulous. We can't wait. If there's any opportunity for a Rotary, like a hard hat tour or something, we would be interested in that. And of course, in 2026, we'll have to make sure we have some kind of an event to celebrate the museum. All right, so next week, we are going to be hearing from Corinza Townsend. She is the Chief Administrative Officer for Norton West Louisville Hospital, which you all have probably been reading about a little bit in the news. Very exciting development. So she'll be here with us. You'll need to register by Monday the 13th, or you can use the QR code here before you leave. And I'm getting ready to ring the bell as we adjourn. I hope all of you all have a great week and that you survive the next wave that's coming, apparently in the middle of the night tonight. And guests, if you would please come over to the What is Rotary table. Thank you all so much for being here.